What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Wildcat Cave. First things first, again, thank you guys for all the subscriptions, the likes, the comments on the last vlog. It really means a lot. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and make sure you click that subscribe button. We're going to cover everything Kentucky. We're going to have vlogs and all sorts of good stuff coming here soon. Some SEC videos coming up, some breakdowns, some reviews. So go ahead and click that subscribe button. It really means a lot. It keeps the channel growing, gets it out to more people. And that means a lot to me personally. So again, thank you guys for everything so far, but let's keep it up. Let's keep this going. Go ahead and click that like button as well. So today we're going to be going over the top rivalries for the University of Kentucky. These are all just my opinion. I tried to keep them broad across all sports. While that is somewhat hard, I did my best. Some of them are a little more sport specific, but again, these are my opinion. Let me know down in the comments if you think I missed one or if I left one out or one they should be in different order. Make sure you let me know. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll start with some honorable mentions, guys. I came up with 5 schools here that are worth mentioning as a rival. They are Indiana, Vandy, Mississippi State, UCLA, and Kansas. None of these, in my opinion, are worth making my top 5, but they all have their own reasons for being mentioned. Indiana was at one time one of our strongest basketball rivals. Cal has since kind of ended that. I believe he doesn't want to do a home and home with them, but and they obviously don't want to only come to Kentucky. So that rivalry has kind of faded out over the past 8-9 years, something like that. This is one I would love to see them bring back in not only basketball but football as well, as both football programs have gotten pretty good. I think it would be a fun rivalry to see every year, or relatively close to every year. Maybe not something you have to do every season, but that would be one that would be fun. It's a border rivalry, which is always a good time to watch. Vandy, this was more back when Vandy was a little better at basketball and competed a little more with Kentucky there. And Kentucky's football program isn't what it is today, so we were fighting with Vandy quite a bit to move up in the SEC. Obviously, Kentucky has moved past them in both sports by a pretty large margin, so I'm kind of okay to see this one get phased out. It was time to stop fighting with the Vandys of the world and move up to some better competition and create new rivalries with teams that are more fun to compete with and are a little better. The Mississippi State rivalry is fun to me. I actually like this one. I don't know that it's a top 5 rivalry, but it is fun. They are a permanent SEC West opponent in football, so we do get to see them every year in football, and we play them in basketball every year, so that's always fun. About 1 out of every 5 years, they're decent at basketball, and they can kind of steal one, or we go into overtime with them, and that keeps that rivalry alive. In football, we usually split it. Whoever's the home team wins. Kentucky's gotten the better of them here recently in football, which is good. But, it's still fun rivalry. We play them this year. Everybody will be excited for it since it's at Mississippi State. That's a game people think Kentucky could lose, and it kind of keeps that rivalry alive, being an SEC contender and SEC opponent. Then we have UCLA. This is really a basketball-only rivalry since they are the only program that has more national championships than Kentucky, with 11 to Kentucky's 8. So that is why they're on here. Football, there's really no rivalry there as they don't play, and they really don't play UCLA in basketball much anymore as well. But we get them once every 4 years in the CBS Classic, and when we do play them, it's always fun to get one up on them considering they have the championships on us right now. Kansas, again, a basketball-only rivalry. We get to see them in the SEC Big 12 matchup quite a bit, so that's always fun. Everybody gets up for that game. It's a big game. Both teams are usually always pretty good. Their football team really ain't worth mentioning, and that's why they didn't crack the top 5 here. But go ahead and getting into the top 5, guys. At number 5, we have Florida. Again, these are all my opinion, but I think that Florida could potentially become one of our biggest rivals instead of being here at number 5. They own the basketball series the football series, I'm sorry, at 53-18. We did get them in 2018, and I think we have a good chance to get them this year. We're slowly chipping away at that football number. We're getting better, and closer to beating them consistently every year. I think we have a good chance to get them this year, and that will add the fuel to that fire. In basketball, we own the series at 105-41, but even in basketball, it's a fun rivalry. Even though we do have the series lead by quite a big margin, they're typically the second best team in the SEC, barring the Alabamas getting better and teams like that. But, usually it's Florida and Kentucky at the top of the SEC in basketball, which makes it fun. So in both sports, we really have a good time when we play them. The games are typically close and competitive, so that is why it is at number 5 for me. Coming in at number 4, I have the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. In football, it's a 5-5 draw, but we haven't played them since the 90s. In basketball, it is a 25-16 lead to UNC. Again, this is a team we see once every 4 years in the CBS Classic. It's always a big game. 2 power blue blood schools in basketball play. It's always a good time. And this is a school I see as really similar to Kentucky, being a basketball power first, and then the football team building prominence later, kind of how Kentucky is doing right now. North Carolina's football team is probably just a tick ahead of Kentucky. They're typically ranked in that 12 to 15 range. So that's something I think Kentucky can aspire to be. I think it would still be a good game. It's a game I would like to see them bring back in football. We haven't done it since 1990. So I think if we brought that game back in football every couple seasons, it would really drive home that rivalry between the Tar Heels and the Cats, and that's one I would really like to see. Coming in at number 3, we have the Duke Blue Devils. Obviously, no surprise here. The basketball rivalry is strong ever since forever, really, but ever since Christian Laettner hit the shot to beat us in the Final Four back in the 90s. Kentucky owns the overall basketball rivalry at 12 to 10. We obviously have them as our first game of the season this year, and everybody's going to get up for that game. Anytime we play Duke, it's, national television, sold-out game, big deal. So it's a fun basketball rivalry. We haven't played them in football since 1933, so I don't know how much stock you put into this 4-0 Duke lead. We played them 1930, 31, 32, and 33, and they beat us every year. But again, it's been almost 100 years ago. I don't know that this is a team we would ever play in football just because they're ACC, they're not super relevant, like the North Carolina. But it would be one that would be fun to see as a fan. I don't know, it kind of goes back to that power, the basketball power, playing in football and seeing who wins. I don't think they'll ever do it. I don't think Duke's prominent enough just yet, but it would be fun to see just as a fan. Coming in at number 2, guys, we have the Tennessee Volunteers, the team down south. They obviously own the football record at 81 to 26 and 9. So we're not really close there. We got them last year. We don't typically beat Tennessee in football very often, but their program as a whole right now is a dumpster fire. So I think we're going to beat them again this year. Close that gap by another game here. Basketball, we own it overall 157 to 75. So by about 75 games. So we get those back from what we lost in football. The thing that makes this one so fun is, one, it's a border rival, which is always fun. The schools are about 170-something miles apart. You're recruiting all the same players, so we're competing in recruiting. Obviously, both SEC rivals. And then we play them not only in basketball, but in football as well every year. Every year, the games are super competitive, which is what you want to see out of a rivalry. And there for a long time in both sports, we are competing for either the middle of the pack in the football or the top of the SEC. Which is fun, when you're competing for those spots, the guys, you're competing for bragging rights on the states. That's what makes a good rivalry. Tennessee has a chance to jump up to the number 1 rival, in my opinion, which we'll get to here in a second. But for now, they're going to stay at my number 2. And my number 1 rival for University of Kentucky is obviously the Louisville Cardinals. We actually own both of the series in football and basketball, with 17 to 15 for Kentucky in football, and then 37 to 17 in basketball. We typically have their number in all the sports, but with them being an in-state rival, obviously we recruit the same people. Even though Kentucky has the edge in that recently, we recruit the same players. That always makes it fun. Louisville doesn't like Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't like Louisville. That's what you want to see out of a rivalry. While there is that with Tennessee, I just think of being in-state and these schools being obviously so close to each other, it really, really, gets the fans more into it. It brings out the best of the rivalry in college sports. I know everybody likes to say the Michigan and Ohio State or the Duke UNC, but this is right up there with it as far as just fan involvement and hatred. Kentucky being such a strong basketball state, and these two teams typically being very relevant and ranked nationally. It's always a good time when we play them. And in football, Kentucky has started to get the better of Louisville here as of late. which makes it that much more fun. Louisville can't stand it. Kentucky loves it. The fans go at it, and that's what you want to see out of a rivalry. Now, I will say, guys, as my last point before I end the video, this rivalry in both sports has gotten less competitive almost every single season. Kentucky has started to pull away in football, and I think Cal's only lost to them in basketball twice. So unless Louisville decides to, turn their programs around and become competitive, I could easily see them dropping a couple spots, in my opinion, in the rivalry rankings, especially with how competitive Tennessee typically is. You don't want to have a rivalry where one side dominates all the time. That's not as fun unless you're on the winning side, which Kentucky typically is. But either way, you want it to have some parity. You want it to go back and forth. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of you guys have Tennessee ranked ahead of Louisville. But that will do it for this video, guys. Again, thank you all so much for all the support. Again, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button down in the corner. Hit the notification bell so you get alerted when the videos are posted. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you all thought about the honorable mention list. If you all thought I left somebody out or one of those teams should be on the list, or if maybe one of the teams on the list should have only been on the honorable mention. Do you think Tennessee should have been ahead of Louisville? Let me know down in the comments. We can have a discussion about it. I always do my best to reply to everybody. Again, subscribe, like, comment, share. I'll see you guys in the next video, and go Cats.